Hello and welcome to another interesting episode of Feminine Scope, where we discuss issues affecting women, celebrating triumphs that cover different spheres of life, and seeking ways to solve their challenges. I am Amanda Ezekwe. After the journey of 9 months and then learning that your child has been diagnosed with autism after birth is a powerful moment in your life. Immediately, life may feel very different from what you expected it to be. Realizing your child has autism spectrum disorder, known as ASD, can be depressing. You worry first about your child and what it will mean for his or her life experiences. You worry about how you and your family will adjust to this in the years ahead. You worry about the day-to-day challenges of caring for your child with autism. Motherhood is not an easy road to walk, not to talk of being a mother to a special needs child. Parenting an autistic child can feel overwhelming at times. Parents want to do their best for their children. How do they feel and how do they cope? To discuss this with me in the studio today is my guest, a mother to a special needs child. What are the challenges and how has she overcome it? You'll get to meet her after the break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Feminine Scope, and today we'll be discussing motherhood, parenting a special needs child. My guest today is an electrical electronics engineer by profession, mother of a 13-year-old special needs child. She's a board member of Kanye Yachupu Autism Society, whose mission is to create autism awareness as well as support children with no access to therapy as a result of financial constraints. She is Dr. Sylvia Tagbo-Okeke. You're welcome, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me here. Thank you for having me.
How did this journey start for you? Being the mother of a 13-year-old special needs child.
Well, it's a journey that we didn't plan to take.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody plans to take it. Well, it started when my son was diagnosed with autism. The journey started. So that's how we found ourselves on this road. And in trying to get help for our child, my husband and I, we noticed that, okay, if this is taking a lot from us, what about those children out there that do not have access to what we have access to? And that's how it started.
So at what age was he diagnosed?
He was properly diagnosed, I think, between the age of 4, 5, 4, yes, thereabout.
What was the signs and symptoms you noticed when, you, as a mother, of course, being with your child all the time? There are things you will notice and say there's something off about this.
For us, with our son, it was the speech. He just wasn't talking. He met all his other milestones, walking, sitting, crawling, and all that. But he just wasn't talking. And then we took him to a pediatrician. We complained, I remember. And the pediatrician said, he's a boy. Boys don't talk early. He's meeting his other milestones. So there was no really that immediate trigger. And he'll talk. Other people said, he's a boy. Boys don't talk early. He'll talk. Until a friend came with the daughter to the house, and the daughter was just talking and talking. And I'm like, oh no, this is not, this isn't, something is not quite right, yes. You know, as a mother, or as a caregiver, as a father, you know, deep down in your mind, you know, something is not right. But you try to just have faith to believe that, let me give it time, until you realize it hits you on the face that, no.
When you eventually found out, how did you feel?
You go through different stages, sincerely. I'm not going to lie to you. You first of all say, no, it's not possible. Google will become your best friend. You will Google, you go through Google and you say, oh, he's meeting this. No, it's not autism. No. He's doing this, he's doing that. The denial stage. But don't stay too long in that denial stage. Some people stay a long time, and it's not good for the child, because early intervention is the key. And then the next stage, you start, how do I handle this? What do I do? Where do I start from? And then you have fear of the future. How will this child survive in this society? And then the next stage, how do I tell people so that they know how to relate with him or her? You start with your immediate family, then you start with your extended family, and then you take the circle to your friends, and then to strangers. So you have to start telling them about your child, that your child is special. And then you start looking for intervention, solution, because it's a lifelong, I don't know how to describe it. It's for life. So you have to look for ways to be able to do things for your child, prepare your child for adulthood.
Did you ever ask the doctor what caused it?
Oh yes, you will. What is the cause? What's the cure? What's the solution? You will ask. But of course, there is no cure. There is none. You have to do all the therapy, do all the intervention. And for some of the children, if you start early, you don't notice they are able to function effectively in the society. Then people can say, oh, they are out of the spectrum. But there's really no cure. But you can do enough for people not to even notice that the child was ever on the spectrum or is on the spectrum. So the child can be able to, act in a typical manner that you don't notice.
When you finally accepted that your child had autism, did life stop for you?
It can't stop. You feel down, you feel emotional, depressed, you go through all that. Of course, you're a human being, you go through all that. But you have to pick yourself up. You have to tell yourself, I need to help this child. I need to look for solution for this child. So your life can't stop. My life can't stop. I have to look for solution, as well as manage my other children, manage the home, manage your career. Of course, you have to, at times you have to, for some parents, you have to go through a career change, because that child needs attention.
Did you go through a career change?
I did. I did. I did. But, well, it's good. It's for a good cause.
But you found what you were doing fulfilling and taking care of your child.
Yes.
How were you able to explain to his siblings that he is not like you? You have to be patient enough with him.
Oh, you have to talk to them. You have to carry them along. You don't just tell them. You carry them along. They become part of that journey. For my kids, my husband and I, from the onset, we told them about Kanye. Then when Kanye was diagnosed, we had just 3 kids, a daughter, a son, and then Kanye Achuko. My last boy came 8 years later. So we told them, we showed them videos, we tried to make them understand, and we told them that they have to tell their friends about Kanye, and they have to accept him. In accepting him, that's when their own friends will accept Kanye. So we started with awareness and acceptance right in our home. And we kept telling them, you have to help him, because there are some things that he cannot do the way you do it. Yeah. So you have to help him.
Now, coming to the extended family, how were you able to explain to them?
You have to tell them. You break it to them that this, first of all, you are not only going to tell them, you are also going to educate them. You explain to them, because it's not everybody in your family that will understand what autism is all about. Some of them have not even heard about it. So this has happened to you. You have read upon it. So you can't expect them to automatically know what you know. So you have to take your time, break it down, explain. At times, they might not understand the behavior when they're having their meltdowns and stuff. They say, oh, he's not misbehaving. This is part of the autism. And then you keep explaining, and then you have to talk to them about acceptance. After a while, everybody gets used to him, and they will be the one explaining to other people about him. So it's like a chain. You, like they said, you pay it forward.
Mm-hmm. I met Kanye recently, and I must say, I'm truly proud of him.
Oh, thank you.
Seeing the exhibition, the artwork, and how did you discover this? How did it all start? Because from what you told me, nobody is autistic in the house.
Nobody.
Except him.
Except him, yeah.
Nobody. And the artworks were amazing.
Thank you.
How did this start? How did you discover him?
I can't take that credit. I keep saying it in all the interviews. My husband and I, we keep saying we cannot take that credit that we saw Kanye painting one day and we said, oh, you are fantastic. No. What we did, is to encourage him. That was our role. And I think for him, it's just his gift is just from God. It's just
How did
God's
you notice
gift.
it?
For us, Kanye was just drawing all over the place, on the wall, everywhere. And we were going crazy. And then somebody came, we can have like, the 500 reams of paper. Kanye can draw on all of them in no time. So I was even hiding the paper and giving it to him bit by bit. And then somebody came to the house, and my son's friend's mom. I'm like, who did this? And we say, it's my son, Kanye. And they're, oh, this is really good. Why don't you put him in an art class? I'm like, okay. Now, he's special needs, so you can't just take him and
put him in an art class.
Yeah, you have to look for somebody that is willing enough to accept him. Because Kanye he's calm when he's painting or he's drawing. So other times he's
all over the place.
All over the place. So, and the woman was fantastic enough to say, you know what, I'll make calls, I'll look for. So we started. And then she called me one day and said, I found a lady, go and meet the lady. So I went to meet the lady, Koka Farouk. So I went to meet Miss Koka. She's Pakistan, but she has lived in Nigeria for a long time. So I went to meet her. I said, Miss Koka. I said, my son is special needs. Are you sure you can be able to handle him? And she was like, she's Muslim. So she said, Inshallah, yes, I will try. I've never handled a special needs child before, but let's see how it goes. And then we concluded and everything. So we agreed that it will be a one-on-one. It will not be with other children because, of course, with special needs, it has to be one-on-one so that the child can actually learn. So The first day I was at home, she called me after the class, said, "Oh, you brought a genius for me. I have goose pimples all over my body. This child is a genius." In my mind, I'm like, okay. Okay. And then one day, he came with the first canvas. I looked at it and said, Kanye, you did this. Okay, put it there. To me, it did not, I'm like, okay, art class, when you're in that, you do, I just never registered. Second, I said, okay. Then one day I just followed him. I said, let me follow you to your class. I saw him painting. I'm like, Miss Coca, Miss Kanye. He said, I've told you now.
You, the mother, didn't even believe your child could do such a painting.
Yes, because it was on then it was paper, doing stuff on paper is different from
doing on canvas, like the professional
like artist. The professional artist. And I'm like, look at him, look at Kanye. He's not jumping. He said, yes, I told you. And I'm like, wow, amazing. And that was how we started.
So far, at what age did he start painting? And now that he's 13, how has the success story been?
Wow. With Kanye, like I said, everything is just God. My husband and I, we just look at each other and we're like, this can only be God. We don't know how to explain it. The talent, the reaction of people to his art, we just see it as just divine. Kanye's, the way he paints, what he paints, his imagination, what he's thinking, it's just, the journey has just been divine intervention. Because if you're saying, what did we do? I don't have an answer, because I'm just being a mom. That's all I'm been doing. Just giving whatever support that I can to him.
How have you been able to inspire other moms with Kanye Chukwu, the NGO that you started advocating for, children with autism?
Yeah. There's something that happened, and it really struck me. I used to have a place just by Gishiri, a suburb, and there was a day I saw a child naked. The child was just standing naked by the road, and I looked at the child and I told myself, why is the child here? And the driver was like, oh, he's crazy. But I can tell the child is not crazy. The child has special needs. And the thing is, the child is just poor, so they just leave the child. So I was like, go and find out where that child. So they found out the mom, they're very poor. Where they live in, I went there, and they used to chain the child, but the child has grown a bit, so they just leave the child to go. And of course, the child is special needs, doesn't know, when to dress, not to dress, and all that. And it just struck me that a lot of people would look at these children and say, oh,
they're
crazy or something, whereas they just need help. They just need intervention. And that's where we started that, okay, we have this child, but we should create awareness. Not only create awareness in our own little way, whatever art exhibition that we have, at least we should be able to give some back to the society, especially to children that do not have access to therapy. It's huge the need out there is huge, but you have to start from somewhere and then talk to other people so that they can do their part. The government should do their part.
Has the government been supportive of this?
The government needs to do a whole lot more, because if you go to established, let me use the word established society like the US, the UK and all that, they have a system in place where these people are actually taken care of, where they make the access to therapy is there, whether you have money or you don't have money. And this government, they go further to also provide succor for the parents, especially for mothers that are forced to stay at home to look after these children. And then they have homes for these children. When they are adults, they call them assisted living, where they are taken care of, especially for those that cannot function in society. That we don't have here. There is no support system. Everything you pay out of pocket. And for parents that cannot afford that therapy, they just abandon the children. A mom or a dad that have children, 4 or 5 children, say, okay, let me focus on the 4 that are okay, and then just this one is gone. There's no hope. So
how draining can it be parenting an autistic child?
It is. It is. It takes a lot from you. It takes a lot from you mentally, emotionally, physically. But financially as well, it takes from you, because therapy doesn't come cheap. It doesn't. Somebody was saying, I don't know if it's true, but I kind of believed it, that autism is one of the most expensive challenges to take care of in the world, because you have to pay for speech therapy, behavioral therapy, and all other things that you need to. That is quite expensive to take care of kids on the spectrum. And of course, some of them have special diets, so you have to cater for that. So it's quite draining on parents. But the thing is, no matter how draining it is for you, you have to pull yourself together, because you have to be strong for your child. So you have to.
Some parents actually shut down their lives for these children.
Yes, they do.
How can they be helped?
That's, like I said, in societies out there where the social system works, the government actually cater for these parents. I think in Canada they pay the moms. They put them on payroll and all that. But in Nigeria, it's not there. It's just not there.
Because there's no database.
There's no data. And another thing, in Nigeria, we still have a long way to go with acceptance. And this acceptance is not, I'm talking about people that do not have the means. At times you hear some heartbreaking stories of parents that are actually very wealthy, but they don't accept, and they lock up these children. So that level of awareness, or being ashamed to say that your child has special needs, not coming out, that is also an issue that we are dealing with here as well.
So can there be any way that educating people at the grassroots level about autism can take place? Because it's looking like, okay, the awareness is not as much as, we can't compare it to like domestic violence and all that, where the awareness is strong. How can we have awareness done strongly so that people will know that there are people living with autism and you need to show them love?
And I would like to mention that where we were years back is not where we are now. A lot of people are taking it upon themselves to spread an awareness, but there's still a lot to be done. There are centers, OLG, Patrick's, Ziba, Zama, GTB, a whole lot of organization
who support
autism, all that who support this, and every year they keep having awareness program, campaign, and all that, talking about it, coming on TV, on radio, and all that. But you said something, grassroots level, the villages, the isolated areas where you have these children, but because the awareness is not there, then they don't know. So we still need to do more. A lot of work needs to be done, not only by these organizations, not only by the parents of children with special needs, not only by the government. It has to be a collective effort. We need a village, a whole big community to spread it.
Recently, the Autism Week was celebrated. What goes on when this is done?
Okay. The Autism Week, a whole lot of activities take place. You have people that do autism walk. You have people that come on TV, talk about autism. People do conferences. Like we do art exhibition, and in the art exhibition we make sure that media like you're there to also spread the knowledge, to talk about the story that, hey, the essence of why we are doing this is awareness that no child should be left behind. No child, irrespective of, there is no child that is useless. That is our language. That's why every year we refuse to change the theme of our exhibition. It's called No Child Left Behind, because we feel that at times we've seen it. You forget them and you face the typical children. You just leave them, and then they don't get better because that attention is not on them. So that awareness, we do it in our own way, and other people are doing it. But like you said, taking it to the grassroots level, taking it to primary school. When mothers come with their children to the hospital, and the doctors should be able to advise them and say, your child needs extra attention, not only in the teaching hospital, but up to the family clinic, the federal clinics, the what do you call it? I can't remember. The little clinics that...
Health centers.
Health centers, yes. Up to that level, because they are the first people that sees those kids. So they can tell them. And not only tell them, okay, you tell them, what's the solution? Tell them and know where to direct them to. The facility should be there to say, okay, your child has special needs, your child has autism, your child has ADHD, your child has Down syndrome. Now I'm giving you this, go to this center closest to you. That's where the government comes in, make centers available. Go to this center, they can be able to help you. The parent goes to the center and then they take it from there.
What's the worst case of autism in a child?
Oh, wow. It's a spectrum. You have the bad one that you don't even notice. The child can talk, can function, but still on the spectrum. And at times that's the most heartbreaking one, because you don't know. So when they behave out of the way you expect that child to behave, because the guy is discussing with you and all that, you're like, what's going on here? because you don't know, you can't tell. And then you have the severe ones. They can't talk, they can't function at all. They can't talk, they can't, it's impossible. They can't, they can't use the bathroom on their own, they can't dress themselves. So it depends on where your child falls into, the part of the spectrum that your child falls into.
Can a mother, especially who has an autistic child, live a normal life?
Yeah, you can. Before I answer that question, what is a normal life? That's what when people say, your life, okay, what is a normal life? It's relative. What is normal for you might be abnormal for me. What is normal for me might be abnormal for the next person. It depends on what, to me, the child did not decide, oh, I'm going to be autistic to make you. You are a custodian. So your life is normal because that is the way God wants it. So that's your normal. It's like somebody that, how will I put it? Like we were discussing sickle cell. Okay, is their life abnormal? No. They were born with it, so to them it's a normal life. So to us it's also a normal life.
Definitely, it's also a normal life because, of course, you said you had to change career, but now you've accepted it, and you know, we'll talk more about that when we come back on a short break. We'll be going on a short break. We've been discussing motherhood and parenting special needs children. Stay tuned, join us when we come back.
We are a nation blessed with people of diverse cultures, religions, languages, and opinions. It is ironic that we are now being ripped apart by our greatest strength, our diversity. We have allowed intolerance, insensitivity, bigotry, and nepotism to blind our vision of the greatness we can achieve working together as one. We may not have the same culture, nor religion, nor language, but we all belong to the same nation by the divine will of God. We did not choose to be Nigerians. Nigeria chose us. This nation is our divine heritage, and if we open our eyes, we would realize that what divides us pales in comparison to what unites us. And by the comparison and conciliation of our differences, we will grow until our differences disappear. Our unity cannot be willed by mere declarations, nor do we get unity by ignoring the questions that beg for answers. We must celebrate our diversity and debate our differences without fracturing our unity. Our strength is not in our numbers, but in our unity, because even the weak become strong when united. Nigeria unite.
This message is brought to you by Abuja Broadcasting Corporation, owners and operators of ASO Radio 93.5 FM Abuja, ASO Television DSTV Channel 392, Star Times Terrestrial Channel 127, Free TV Channel 507, People's TV Channel 285, and UHF Channel 38.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Feminine Scope, and before we went on a short break, we've been discussing motherhood and parenting a special needs child. We still have our guest in the studio, the mother to a 13-year-old special needs child, Dr. Sylvia Tagbo-Okeke. We are back, ma'am. So, Kainye Yachupu Autism Society.
Yeah.
What is it all about? How do you help people and how do you create awareness?
Okay. Kaniachuku Autistic Society, we started it with the former Pakistani ambassador's wife, because she has 3 centers in Pakistan, and then Kukab and a couple of other people. The idea was to create awareness. Then after a while we took it further. We said, okay, in addition to creating awareness, like I told you, you create awareness, especially for those that cannot afford therapy. They know. So what next? Where do they go from there? How can they can't afford therapy, so they need help. We know the need is huge out there, but in the little way we can, we provide therapy for children that cannot afford therapy. And there's one that's really close to our heart, and that's the JKS Orphanage Home for Special Needs in Cuba. It's an orphanage home that has that's for special needs. These kids, they don't have anywhere to go. They've been abandoned, and they need therapy. That's one of the orphanages that we support in any way that we can.
Is it private owned or government owned?
It's private owned, and the lady there is doing an amazing job. And there are we also have other centers, and we told them, if you have any child that cannot afford therapy, and if we have the funds, we can assist the children in getting therapy, and we've helped some of them in having access to therapy. Like I said, it's quite expensive for these children to get therapy. A typical child needs about 200 to 350,000 naira per term for intervention. Yes, proper intervention. And at times these centers, they give scholarships to some of them, but the need is, there's a limit to what they can accommodate. So at times they have to turn them back. And
do we have enough medical intervention for these children? Like medical personnel, are they much who specialize in special needs?
In Nigeria, you don't really have that many specialists. And it's not only medical intervention, you also need educational intervention. You also need social intervention as well. Speech therapists, behavioral therapists, psychologists, and then of course you have to teach them skills acquisition, motor skills, and then of course the medical part, because some of them come with some medical issues that you need medical people to take care of. And then of course you have the neurologists that you have to take them to. So it's a whole lot. It's a whole lot that you need to do for these children. And then the hands are not just there to take care of the numbers that we have out there.
Now back to Kanye. You know, the first time I saw Kanye, I never knew he was autistic. Yes, I never knew he was autistic until, you know, when we were about to leave, and I looked, I said, oh, really? That means you really did a good job knowing that you had to intervene early. How has that journey been for you, knowing that you've really worked hard on him and still working hard on him?
For us, it was a collective effort. Like I tell people, it takes a village. You can't do it alone. For my husband and I, we told ourselves, this is a journey and we need to walk it with Kanye. And it's not just my husband and I, the children, my in-laws, my own brothers and sisters, extended family, everybody, the school, our friends, everybody. We worked together. And then for parents, especially if your child is in a center or in a school, you have to work closely with the school. Whatever the school is doing, you mirror it at home. Whatever they're doing, you mirror it at home. So for Kanye, it was constant intervention. The school did their part. We, as parents, we did our own part as well.
So, how can you help a parent with an autistic child who just discovered that her child is autistic?
Okay. If a parent comes to meet me and say my child is autistic, the first thing I tell them, start intervention now. Start. Don't waste time. Look for help for your child. If the child is not talking, speech therapy. If the child is having behavioral issues, you have to start ABA, motor skill, all that. We tell them start intervention. But first of all, of course, you have to ask them, has the child been properly diagnosed? Okay, what part of the spectrum is your child in? What kind of intervention have they told you that your child needs? And it's based on that, you need to start. And then another thing, since your child is on the spectrum, there is a limit to, at times there's the society put a limit on what they can achieve. Do not accept that limit. Look for what your child enjoys doing and build on it. Start looking for your child's gift, because a lot of these children, they are gifted. You just need to discover it and then encourage them. So we tell those parents, look for the gift, what your child loves doing, and encourage your child to excel at it. If you start on one and your child says, I don't like this, look for another one. Do not get discouraged. Do not discount the child. Do not give up on the child.
Sometimes don't you think that poverty in the society affects some of these parents and they don't get to know what to do with their children?
Yes, it does. I agree. Poverty can, like I said before, if you see a woman with 5 children, probably having 1 meal a day is hard. And one of them has special needs. The tendency to focus on the other 4 is there, and they forget. They just leave the last one, the one that has special needs. Because it's okay, because to them, okay, let me train this, let me take care of this. They will go to university, they will graduate, and they'll probably take care of me in my old age. This one, there's no hope. I don't think he can even go through primary school. So they just forget and they abandon the child. Some will say there's no point. They feel they do mercy killing because they feel there is no hope.
What do you mean by mercy killing?
Maybe I should coin it. They think it's mercy killing, but it's not. They kill the child. There are cases where they think it's...
Kill the child?
Yes, they kill the children. There is one in JKS orphanage that if you go there, you see the strangulation mark on her neck. They wanted to strangle her to death, but she survived, and she took the owner of the orphanage, took this child in. So to the parents or to the caregiver, they think they are doing the child a favor by getting rid of the child so that the child will not suffer more. But that is not true. That's why we keep saying no child should be left behind. Killing is killing. There is no mercy. You kill that child Maybe that child will probably be the one to invent something that will be life-changing in future, but you've snuffed out the life, and it's heartbreaking. No life is worthless. No child is worthless.
How can you think government should get involved? Like, how can they get involved? Because this is a lot for a private person, especially someone who runs a special needs home. Talk to the government. How can they get involved?
The government, like I said, and you mentioned, the government should get involved right from the grassroots. Right from the grassroots. They are doing stuff, but they need to do more. Like in other society, you have homes for these children. The parents, they get involved with the parents that have special needs children, look for ways to help them, have intervention centers for them where you can take the children to and all that. For those that are not working, they have intervention for those parents that cannot work because they have to stay with the children. Anyway, that is still way ahead. At least let's start with diagnosis. Diagnosis and having somewhere to send them to for intervention. Trained people. The government should start investing in human capital, therapists, speech therapists, behavioral therapists, all that. And of course, awareness. Massive, massive awareness. Right from the grassroots. But that is not there for now. Or it's being done, but it's being done so minimally that you can't even feel the impact. They need to do a lot more. Because the children that you have now, because it's increasing. It's increasing. So when they become adults, how do you manage them if you don't take care of them now? Take care of them to be able to function in the society. By the time they are 30-something, 40-something, they become more of a burden to the society. But if you can train, especially those train them, there are some that you can train. They become gardeners, they become cooks, like that. They can also add value to the society instead of being a burden on the society. So the government needs to do more, a whole lot more.
So what advice would you give to parents of autistic children? Because of course, some are still living in denial. Those that have finally accepted it, how can they cope? How can they move on with life?
For parents with children on the spectrum, you've been told your child has autism, you've accepted it, you've started intervention. Never give up. Be there for your child. Also create time for yourself. Because another thing, you also have to be mentally okay to be able to have enough patience to take care of your child. Learn to manage. Manage your time, manage your child, manage your home. It both ways for the mom and the dad. And for those that have spouses, work closely with your spouse. Both of you needs to be in sync. That way you can be able to handle it. For those that are single, just create time for yourself as well. Don't let it center completely around the child or you get burnt out. Also create some alone time to get yourself back, and then you go back in.
Finally, for those living around people who have autism, what advice would you give them? Because the first thing people do when they see, some people do when they see children with autism, they are crazy.
Yeah.
They are not fit for the society.
Yeah.
What will you tell people?
Acceptance. Acceptance. Inclusion. acceptance and inclusion. It's very key. Because these children, because they're autistic, doesn't mean that they don't feel. That doesn't mean that they don't know. There's this saying, they said, kindness is what the blind can see, the deaf can hear. Just show them love. Be kind to them. Accept them for who they are. And when you accept them, you show them love, you see they grow, they bloom. That innate gift in them, it comes out. But if there is hatred, you ignore them, you can never get the best out of that child. You have to show love. Whether you are the parents of the child, you are a friend, or you are a stranger and you see a special needs child having a tantrum, reach out to that child and to the parent and just accept, say, how can I help? You might not be able to help, but just telling that parent, how can I help, goes a long way than to just look at the parent and the child and have this expression on your face as if, what is this? That is heartbreaking. We've seen it, we've experienced it so many times. But those times that somebody will come and say, is he okay? How can we help? Do you need anything? Mommy, daddy? Immediately, it goes along, it helps you and it helps your child, because your child at times feeds off your emotion. Acceptance and inclusion is key.
I want to really say a big thank you to you for coming on the show today. And I must praise you for doing a good job with Kanye.
We just thank God.
And helping other parents who have autistic children have a cushion effect. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me on this show. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Our guest has been Dr. Sylvia Tagbo-Okeke, an electrical electronics engineer by profession, mother of a 13-year-old special needs child. She's a board member of Kanye Chukwu Autism Society, whose mission is to create autism awareness as well as support children with no access to therapy as a result of financial constraints. A diagnosis of autism and its associated physical and mental health symptoms can take a toll on family functioning, especially on the mother. Forming connections with other parents who are raising children with autism is critical for enhancing your own sense of well-being. The first step is accepting it, then acknowledging the difficulties in parenting a child with autism. Acceptance applies to both ourselves as parents and to our kids. Yes, parenting an autistic child will be very challenging, particularly during the early years. Knowing that the child cannot express him or herself, finding ways to help children with autism and their parents means encouraging them to seek help. Support them in advocacy and anything that will be beneficial to the child, but above all, show them love and be very empathetic. This is the much you can take on the program today. Until next week, bye-bye.